as we moved on, we have always had a fired heater application, Xfh, and it was never implemented as a CAPE-OPEN unit operation. I have no idea why, but more recently we've developed a new application, call it Xfh Ultra, and that's been released more recently. And in a sense, what Jasper was saying is, if you're doing something new, use COBIA. So we looked to use COBIA. So Jasper, at least, we may recognize some of the screenshots I'm about to show, but this is showing in COFI all of the unit operations that we have access to prior to the implementation of our Xfh Ultra. So a wide range of different heat exchangers, so they all connect up as unit operations and can be used in any process simulator that supports CAPE-OPEN. Then we had a meeting, I think it was in Sunbury in 2017, where there were some questions asked of what would people like to do in the future, and I think that's when COBIA was perhaps first introduced. The suggestion was for new developments, think about COBIA. So we thought about that. Unfortunately, the next meeting, I think with Ludwigshafen, we were unable to attend, but there was a training session on using COBIA, developing unit operations, and we got access to the training material, and we were basically able to make a bit of a start looking at how to do that. Then in 2019, we, together with KBC, we were given the opportunity to have a consultancy service from CO-LaN to help us make Xfh Ultra CAPE-OPEN compliant unit operation using COBIA. So how did we go about that? Well, the initial stages were very easy because the training material gave us that head start. We could quickly develop a unit operation, but then it came to the complications of a fired heater. As we'll see on some of the later slides there, they're not simple things. I guess we were a little bit naive at that point, thinking, oh, COBIA is all a done deal, it's all going to work fine. So I think in reality, we ended up working with Jasper not so much for the consultancy side of it, because it was straightforward. It was more that we found some issues during the development that needed fixing on the COBIA side rather than on our side. But Jasper responded very quickly and gave us the support we needed to make sure that all of that was handled. We had issues with dealing with multiple ports. Fired heaters can have multiple streams coming into the units, multiple streams coming out. We had some issues with the fact that we have very detailed configuration. So the geometry for a fired heater is quite detailed, and it was generating very detailed results. We had to be able to see those. So just a simple user interface that allowed the core information that was being shared with the process simulator was just not enough. We had to fire up the user interface. And our software, I was really pleased in a very introductory comments that Fortran is still being taught, because for many of our unit operations, the underlying calculations are Fortran. Actually, with Xfh Ultra, they're not written in C++, but we always wrap our calculations with other languages. In this case, we have a .NET user interface. So we have multiple languages involved in our ability to go from the process simulator to the calculations and back. Nevertheless, we put all the pieces together. We had a 64-bit version and a 32-bit version, so extra work to go through the testing and make sure everything works. Bottom line is, put all of that together, and I don't think you use much of your consultancy time.
So it was very cheap also.
Okay. And just to confirm now, on our list, we have Xfh Ultra as well as all of the other components. I think by the time we were released, that was the first official public release of COBIA 1.2.07.
Yeah.
I may be wrong on that, but it's fairly close. So you could say, so what? We've done all of this work. What's the benefit to HTRI? Well, we did actually have now a fired heater application that could be run inside process simulators. Again, so what? Well, there are some particular applications where the standalone tool was either difficult or impossible to use. A couple of examples here: steam injection and air preheat. We'll see some pretty pictures shortly where I can put that into better context. But with steam injection, there's an injection process for the fuel that is going through the fired heater. So we had to have physical properties before and after the steam injection. While you could set that up manually, any changes in the process meant you had to reset it. And this is quite challenging standalone, whereas in a process simulator, that became very easy. And I'll just use now the air preheater as another example of where we can take the power of the process simulators in addition to Xfh Ultra to make life simple for us. So, a pretty picture. If you focus on the left-hand side of the picture, the thing that's, I think, the tallest thing in the screen is a fired heater. To put it into context in terms of size, you can see in the foreground some wire fencing, so that will be a couple of meters high. So this is a big, one of the more expensive units you'd see in a plant. This particular one is what we would say is a twin firebox. So there are two cylindrical areas. Oops, don't want to go forward. I need to press the magic button. It doesn't work. So this area here is one firebox. This area here is a second firebox. That feeds up into a common convection area. And then the flue gas is
David, we can't hear you.
In the online. Or just mute the speakers here. That's okay?
Yeah, now okay.
so these two pieces of pipework, these are related to the air preheater.
It's not red around, so I am not sure it is online. It's okay.
And what is happening here is we take the hot flue gas, we're going to bring it down and we're going to preheat the fuel in a heat exchanger, and then that continues back up into the stack and up to the atmosphere. So let's make that a little bit simpler to see with a little sketch here. So we have the furnace, firebox, followed by the convection section up the stack. What we do is we draw off some flue gas, goes through our preheater, that returns to the stack, and we have our combustion air being heated, then combined with the fuel. It all sounds so simple there, but Xfh Ultra itself couldn't do that on its own. So we have the benefit of a process simulator. We can do much of this outside of the firebox itself. Here's one example of a process simulator, which has got the fired heater going out the stack. I've got a heat exchanger taking the combustion air. It comes back in. It's mixed with fuel. It goes into our fired heater. I'm going to flick through the next few very quickly because Michelle said I got too many slides. But guess what? No prizes for guessing, but I did think about having a quiz here. Here's another process simulator. And another. And another. So they've all been set up because we have a CAPE-OPEN unit operation that is working in CAPE-OPEN line unit operation. Apologies, Michael, I ran out of time and didn't have access to that. But otherwise, I'm sure it would have worked in just the same. So really, that's as much as I want to say on what we've done. It's all just worked. We have got rigorous flight heater calculations that we can run in a process simulator. We tested it on perhaps half a dozen simulators. I think there's 2 or 3 others that we haven't got access to, that we haven't tried. From the point of view of COBIA, it was very easy to do the necessary work. We had a consultancy access, but we didn't really need to make much use of it. I think it was really, we were early adopters and we were helping find out all of the bugs that were in the software. But Jasper was fantastic in terms of turning anything we found around. COBIA itself, so we're using it in process simulators, which, as far as I know, none of which are COBIA-based. They are all COM-based. So there is the degree of backwards compatibility that was necessary for COBIA to really take off. Our final thoughts. It works. It was much more straightforward for us to develop that unit operation. The developer that had done all of the early work with COM, I'm not sure whether it was that he wasn't interested in starting all over again, but it seemed fitting that the developer for my heater application was the one that put this forward. And so he was very happy with the way that turned out. We're about to release a new version, and of course it will contain the latest version of COBIA as part of the distribution. And just a final picture here, nothing to do with my presentation as such, but that shows you some of the facilities at HTRI, some very substantial facilities that enable us to do heat transfer, pressure drop, heat exchanger research. Thank you.
Thank you, David.